Servus Männer, it's Red Pill Germany again. As you can see, I am back at the airport. Our Chinese overlords in the Far East need some help and assistance with German technology, and who better to send than yours truly. All right, on the way here, I read some news, or I also heard it on the radio actually, and that is that the popular or famous German car manufacturer Audi is cutting 9,500 jobs at their two large plants in Ingolstadt and Neckarsulm. Those plants, they make, for example, the A3 to A8, these very popular Audi limousines, and 9,500 jobs will be lost in these two plants. So this was negotiated and agreed upon between the bosses of Audi and the plant and with the laborers' council or the workers' council of these plants, respectively. And that means that the cutting of the jobs will be done, and this is a nice German word, sozialverträglich. That is in agreement with social standards and trying to minimize hardship for the concerned people who lose their jobs. Now, at the same time, Audi said that they will create 2,000 new jobs in the fields of digitalization and electrification. That means multimedia and computer connectivity stuff and electric cars, maybe batteries or electric engines. But first of all, 9,500 jobs in their conventional field, that is, of course, the internal combustion engine, will be lost. And so today in this video, I want to tell you a little bit about how this is normally done and what the article actually hinted at, that this is in fact what will be done here, and what that means for the workers and also for the German state and the region. So first of all, as I said, this company cannot just say, okay, we're firing people now, because these people have a valid contract, and if there are no harsh economic situations and conditions, they cannot just fire people from their jobs. That means that the bosses negotiate with the workers' council and they agree on certain standards, certain procedures of how to meet this goal that they have of shrinking the number of jobs by a certain number in these plants. And that would mean, for example, that you approach the older guys among staff. That means people who are like 57, 60, or even over 60 already, and you basically tell them to retire early, and you give them a little bonus. Their retirement money that they will get afterwards will be a little lower, but you give them a front-loaded bonus basically, and you negotiate with these workers, with the staff individually, and they can agree or disagree. And management and HR. So this can actually be a good thing, I guess, if you are already 60 and you don't want to work until 65, but you work for a good German company such as Audi. That means you had a lot of opportunities to save money during the course of your career, and maybe you actually want to retire early. So these people will take this offer and just enjoy 5 more years of retirement with a little less money maybe. And then there are also some younger people, or maybe some people you actually want to get rid of, and you make them the same kind of offer. And that means the company needs a budget in order to meet this goal of reducing the number of staff, because you need to have some money to give them a bonus or make them this offer to basically terminate their still valid contract. And then you can imagine you can only do that once. So I think this will not be the last wave. There will be more waves in the future. This was just this year. There might be a second wave next year, and a third wave, and a fourth wave after that. But what do you do then? What do you do if the capacity of your plant is still much larger than what your customers are buying, and how many cars you actually produce then, for example? what do you do then? And you already, yeah, you already blew your budget in the previous year for retiring people early. Then you actually would have to fire them. And then they cannot use the word sozialverträglich anymore. And that means negative press. And this is why they do all that, because if a large, prestigious, historical, one can almost say, company or employer in Germany would do such a thing, just firing people because business is bad, then the press, society in general, but especially the shareholders, would become very nervous, and that is not good for the reputation of the company. So they want to avoid that at all cost, and well, not at all cost, but as I said, they have a certain budget for that, and then they have to negotiate with the workers' council. And what the workers' council got, because of course they only agree to that if they get something, is that the remaining workers at these plants, the ones who were not, whose contract was not terminated early, let's say, they get job security until 2029. And I think before that they had job security until 2026 or 5 or something, and now until 2029. That is more than 9 years from now. That is pretty amazing, and also a big risk for the company, of course, because as you know, the car industry especially is undergoing rapid changes at the moment, and I don't think Audi or anybody else knows what is going on in 3 years, how the economic environment will be for this industry. So giving tens of thousands of employers job security until 2029 is a rather bold move from the management, actually. But it just gives you an idea of how working conditions are, and what the unions actually achieved for German workers in these large, rather successful companies. Of course, there are other people in Germany that are not as lucky as an engineer or a worker at Audi, you can imagine. They don't have job security, they don't have union jobs, their working conditions are not as great as that. But even these very successful, very iconic German companies now have to downsize. You just can't afford to run at a higher capacity than what the market requires for a very long time. No company can really afford that. Okay, so now I told you what that means for the company and for the workers. For the workers who were let go in the first wave, for example, this is not that bad because they still get that bonus. What happens in the future with the second or third or fourth wave, I'm not so sure. But what does that mean now for the state and the area? So first of all, I mentioned that in previous videos. Normally, if you have a large car manufacturer, for example, near a certain city in a certain district, you have a lot of small and medium companies in the general area, and they are contractors normally to that plant. That means they do plumbing, electricity, maintenance, building, and whatsoever. And even something like shops, bakeries, restaurants, they will all take a hit when you imagine that nearly 10,000 high wage career positions are leaving this area. Or in that case, 2 areas combined, 2 plants. That means that the tax revenue goes down directly from those jobs that are lost, and also indirectly from all their suppliers and all the businesses in the surrounding area that are suffering then from decreased demand, from decreasing business. And overall for Germany, that means more unemployment, less tax revenue, and this is a trend that we will start seeing now. I told you in one of my previous videos that we do not officially talk of a recession yet for Germany. Normally economists say that we're in a recession when 2 consecutive quarters of the year show negative growth. That means shrinking of the GDP. And in the last quarter, I think, in the second quarter, the GDP shrunk, and now I just heard last week, I think it was, that the growth was 0.1%. So just a little less, and it would have been negative. So then they could have said officially we're in a recession now. They don't say that we're not in a recession, but almost a recession. And this is already enough for very successful, very traditional German companies, iconic names such as Audi, but also Siemens, BASF, Bayer, all of them I mentioned in the previous video that was about this topic. They all let people go. They all shrink their capacity, at least in Germany. Some of them are actually moving to low-wage countries in, to our east, in Central and Eastern Europe, but also to the Far East. Okay. So this is just another piece of the puzzle, another step on this downward staircase that I wanted to talk about, that I wanted to let you know. The German economy is in trouble. Our economy is shrinking. And these people who are losing their jobs now, they are not employees at McDonald's or in some department store or something. These are engineers that make 6 figures a year. These kinds of people are losing their jobs now in Germany. So you can imagine what that means for the industry. These are people that pay way more in taxes than they ever take out of the welfare state. They are the net payers of our social systems, of our welfare system. They are the pillars of our society, and they're out of a job now. So we can all imagine what that means for the future and also for the political landscape in Germany. I am very sure that parties such as Die Linke and also the AfD, the patriotic opposition in Germany, will know exactly how they can use that in their future campaigns and also to win over new voters. So maybe some people who used to work for Audi as an engineer will be future AfD voters in Germany now. All right, so this is my report so far, and I have to actually go to my gate very soon. I hope you're doing well. Be safe wherever you are. Servus, Kameraden.